What if I told you that Russia's moves in Ukraine are just the beginning? That while the West debates sanctions, Russia is executing a long-term plan that doesn't just involve tanks and troops, but energy, influence, and the quiet reshaping of an entire region's future. The real question isn't, will Russia stop? It's, who's next? Eastern Europe stands at a dangerous crossroads. For over a decade, the West has watched as Russia steadily reasserts its dominance. From Georgia in 2008, Crimea in 2014, to the full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022, one thing is clear. These are not isolated acts. They're milestones in a strategy. Today, we'll peel back the curtain on what Russia really wants in Eastern Europe and what the future might hold. To understand Russia's goals, we must first understand its history. The fall of the Soviet Union in 1991 wasn't just a geopolitical loss, it was a psychological wound. Overnight, Russia lost influence over 14 former republics and saw NATO expand to its doorstep. Vladimir Putin called it the greatest geopolitical catastrophe of the 20th century. His vision has always been clear: to restore Russia's status as a dominant Eurasian power, not by reviving the USSR, but by creating a new sphere of influence where Moscow, not Brussels or Washington, sets the rules. Russia's real plan revolves around three key pillars: buffer zones, Ukraine, Belarus, Moldova, and even parts of the Balkans are seen as critical buffers between Russia and NATO. By destabilizing or controlling these regions, Russia builds a safety net against Western influence. Energy dominance. Through pipelines like Nord Stream and its gas leverage over countries like Hungary and Serbia, Russia ensures economic dependency. This isn't just about profit, it's power disguised as commerce. Hybrid warfare. Russia's not relying on conventional warfare alone. Disinformation campaigns, cyber attacks, and support for pro-Russian political parties in countries like Slovakia, Bulgaria, and even Germany are soft power tools with hard impacts. So, who's in Russia's sights? Moldova. With its unresolved Transnistrian conflict, it's vulnerable to internal fracture and Russian influence. The Balkans. Serbia maintains close ties to Moscow, and Russian-backed actors have stirred unrest in Bosnia and Montenegro. The Baltics. Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania are NATO members, but Russia still targets their Russian-speaking minorities with propaganda and influence operations. Even Poland, the Czech Republic, and Slovakia have seen surges in pro-Russian narratives, often through online channels and fringe political groups. Ukraine is not just a battlefield, it's the litmus test. If Russia succeeds in Ukraine, it sends a message. Borders can be redrawn by force, and the West will hesitate. Ukraine is the gateway. Control it, and Russia can project power westward. Lose it, and Putin's imperial dream fades. This is why the fight for Ukraine is existential. Not just for Kyiv, but for every democracy in the region. The West assumed that economic sanctions and diplomatic isolation would deter Russia, but that misses the point. Putin isn't playing for today's stock market. He's playing for tomorrow's map. He's betting the West will tire, fracture, and lose the will to act. And in many places, it's working. European unity is fraying. Energy politics divide allies. Populist movements with Russian backing are growing. If unchecked, Russia's real plan unfolds like this. Ukraine is divided or forced into neutrality. Moldova is pulled into Moscow's orbit. NATO is tested through cyber provocations and political destabilization. Eastern Europe becomes a gray zone. Not fully free, not fully under Russia, but permanently unstable. Russia doesn't need to win in a traditional sense. It only needs to make the cost of resistance too high. The battle for Eastern Europe is already underway. It's not just about tanks and missiles. It's about who shapes the future of Europe, a free, sovereign alliance of nations, or a region once again forced to orbit a single authoritarian power. The West must choose, confront the reality of Russia's plan, or be surprised again when it's too late.